All right, welcome DoorGrow hackers to the DoorGrow show. If you are a property management entrepreneur that wants to add doors, make a difference, increase revenue, help others, impact lives, and you are interested in growing your business and life, and you are open to doing things a bit differently, then you are a DoorGrow hacker. DoorGrow hackers love the opportunities, daily variety, unique challenges, and freedom that property management brings. Many in real estate think you're crazy for doing it. You think they're crazy for not, because you realize that property management is the ultimate high trust gateway to real estate deals, relationships, and residual income. At DoorGrow, we are on a mission to transform property management businesses and their owners. We want to transform the industry, eliminate the BS, build awareness, change perception, expand the market, and help the best property management entrepreneurs win. I'm your host, property management growth hacker Jason Hull, the founder of Open Potion, Gather Kudos, Thunder Local, and of course, DoorGrow. Now, let's get into the show. So today is a very special guest. I'm here with Alex Charfen. And if you don't know who Alex Charfen is, I am so excited to introduce Alex to you and introduce you, Alex, to my audience. And you are kind of larger than life to me. And so I'm not even sure how to introduce you correctly. But Alex, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. It's exciting to be here, Jason. Like you said when we were getting on, this has been a long time coming.
Yeah, so I met Alex over a year, like a few years ago at a Funnel Hackers live event. And you were one of the headline speakers for Russell Brunson. And so this is my intro for you. And I dragged my wife to this event because I knew if I went there, I would want to spend money. And I knew if I was going to spend a lot of money, I needed to bring my wife, right? So I brought Ashley to get her to buy in because I thought maybe this would be the next thing for my business. I had to figure something out. And you spoke there on the entrepreneur personality type. And I got emotional. I was like kind of crying a bit listening to this. I felt like understood. My wife was sitting there listening. I felt like she finally felt understood. I felt like we understood our son a bit differently, who we've been struggling with. And it had this like serious impact on me at the time. And eventually we started working together. It maybe took about a year, and we started working together. And Alex, so everybody knows, is my business coach. And I've worked with a lot of different business coaches. And Alex is probably the best business coach that exists on the planet. His systems and processes are top notch. They're second to none. I would say that his stuff is better than some of you have heard the, Gene Wickman stuff or seen Traction. I think Alex's stuff trumps all of that. And when Alex, this is my testimonial for you. But when I started with Alex, we were maybe doing about 300K in revenue, maybe pulling about 30K a month, something like that. Fast forward a year later, we're doing close to 100K a month. We're basically operating at $1 million run rate or higher, and my life is easier than it's ever been, like business wise and everything. And so Alex has had, and not just me, he's had massive impact on everybody that's been involved in the group that he facilitates, that we're part of. And I'm excited to bring some of these ideas, and share some of these concepts with my clients. So Alex, hopefully that's a good enough intro for you into the show.
One of the best intros I've ever gotten, Jason. I appreciate it, man.
So Alex, maybe we could just start like back at the beginning, and people could get a little bit of background for you, from you. How did all of this kind of come about when you, tell us the story in your journey, like when you were young and kind of what you dealt with early on that kind of brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, sure, Jason. I share often, I was always a very different kid. I wasn't like the rest of the kids around me. I always felt isolated and different. I had different perceptions. I didn't do well in school at all. I started out in school. I was in the special education classes where you get more help. Then by the time I was in second grade, I had completed a California test of basic skills, and I got put in gifted and talented education. Then I went from gifted and talented back to normal school, back to gifted and talented, back to normal school. I was super crazy confused. other students. It wasn't that I was antisocial. I just didn't understand how to be social. So I didn't really have a peer group or friends or, people that I related to in any way other than my family. And that was limited, when you're a kid, or at least when I was a kid, I struggled tremendously, and I didn't even understand that I could go to my family for help, because I always felt like everybody else was having this really easy time with everything, and I was just completely lost and had no clue what was going on. And so as a kid, I didn't turn to the normal channels for help. I didn't understand that I could say like, hey, I need help. I started trying to find it on my own. And when I was 8 or 9 years old, I was at a garage sale, and there was a box of personal development stuff at this garage sale. That was like a pastime for my family. We didn't have a lot of money. So most of my clothes, most of my toys, pretty much everything that I had growing up came from garage sales and yard sales. And my parents would spend like $10 a weekend. If we went to a place where there was a pile of clothes that said 25 cents each, that was like a bonanza. We were going to go crazy there. And this box said $100 on it. And while we were at this garage sale, I was begging my mom the entire time, like, I need this. This is why I want it. It's only $100. Do you know how much these are worth? And I remember in the box was Tony Robbins. In fact, I bought all of the stuff that was in that box so I can have it in the same space and get that feeling again every time I look at it. But Tony Robbins Unlimited Power CDs were there, the original Bandler and Grindler NLP tapes, The Awakened Life by Dr. Wayne Dyer. And Jason, I obsessed over those. Like, they were audio tapes, and I listened to the Unlimited Power tapes so much that they wore out. And here's how I got them. I skipped a part of the story. So I'm begging my mom throughout the entire time we're at this garage sale, like, I need to have this. This is why. I'm telling her, why I need it. And she kept telling me no, obviously, because she didn't have $100. And at one point, the guy who was running the garage sale got up from behind the table he was sitting at, walked over, picked up the box, and like literally shoved it at me. He's like, kid, you need this more than anybody I've ever seen. If you promise me you'll read every book and listen to every tape, it's yours. And I was like, absolutely. And I did that. I went home and I listened to the entire thing over the next few days. I was like, if I'm going to make a commitment, I'm going to live up to it. I listened to every single tape, read every book. And that opened my journey of personal development, but it was almost immediately confusing, because when I started listening and reading and it was so eye-opening. It was incredible. I mean, I remember the first time I put in the Wayne Dyer CD. It's a tape. I remember putting the tape into this big, like, tape recorder that my parents had, the kind where you used to have to push record and play at the same time to get it to record.
Right.
And I had to like search the whole house for batteries, and I had like 2 weak batteries and 2 good batteries. So I knew like I could only listen to so much. And I remember putting one of those tapes in and hitting play. And for the next hour, it was like listening to somebody who knew exactly what I needed to hear, and who spoke directly to me, maybe for the first time in my life. And I remember thinking I never wanted that feeling to go away. And that was what started me on that journey. But the challenge is almost immediately personal development started to argue with itself. I don't know if this has happened to you, Jason, but as a kid, I would like listen to one tape or listen to another one or read a book or read another, and they all argued with each other. And they all invalidated each other. So what I did was I just started obsessing over successful people. I was never into sci-fi. I never really watched a lot of TV. I didn't watch a lot of movies. The other kids around me were like doing Dungeons and Dragons and playing video games. And I just obsessively read about successful people, because I knew there was this path that I had to find, because otherwise I was going to end up roadkill. And so I read over and over again about people who were successful, trying to find this elusive thing called success. And the fact is, every person I read about was just like me. Einstein failed algebra, couldn't tie his shoes, didn't talk until he was 4. Newton sat under the apple tree, got an apple, hit him in the head, and discovered gravity. But we don't talk about how he was totally antisocial, and that's why he was all by himself under an apple tree. You look at the history, Socrates went to his death because he wouldn't deny that what he was saying was true. Like, think about the stubbornness, the myopia that requires, 10,000 tries to make a light bulb. Edison, the obsessive compulsive disorder he lived with, is exactly why we don't live in the dark. And the more that I read about people like us, the more I found that the most successful people in history are those that are different and unique and don't show up the same way, don't learn like everyone else, talk like everyone else, show up like everyone else. But the problem is our society has this equation that if you don't talk the same, look the same, sound the same, and learn like everyone around you, you're somehow broken and we need to medicate and correct you. The reality, though, is that present impression is completely wrong, because if we go back throughout history, there are tens of thousands of examples of people who have been handicapped and disordered and disabled and diagnosed and damaged and have gone on to overcome everything and change the world. So I look at that as proof that if any one of us, in the back of our mind, that voice that we never tell anyone about, if we hear that voice saying, you can do more, you can be more, you can leave more behind, I want you to know right now, maybe for the first time, with full confirmation, that voice is right. Because if your mind is pregnant with the possibility, that means that in reality, that's exactly where you should be.
Yeah, I feel that. So when I was a kid, I actually remember telling several people that I felt like everyone else were aliens.
Yeah.
I remember as a young kid saying, I feel like everybody else isn't a real person. They aren't real, or they aren't being real with me. They're all aliens, and I'm the only real person.
See,
I
Jason,
felt like I was different than everybody else.
I had like the opposite. So I think it was second or third grade, but we were learning about the pyramids in Egypt. Mm-hmm. And I can remember vividly the teacher saying, well, some people think they were created by aliens. And I was like, oh, what did she say? Created by aliens? And Jason, I swear that day at recess, I was like walking around looking for where could an alien craft land and have dropped me off, because I knew like that was the answer. I did not belong here. I was different than everyone. I was the alien.
Right. Yeah. Now, so this guy at the garage sale that gave you this stuff, man, I bet you just wish you could find that person.
Oh, such a trip, man. I've thought about it so many times, and like I talk about him all the time, because I think someday someone will hear the podcast or someone will direct that guy back to me. But yeah, it was such a game changer, because
to think that such a small act, to think that just such a small act of generosity could have such a huge ripple effect. Because you look at, I've seen the ripple effect that you've had on my business and my family. I've seen the ripple effect that you're having on everybody else that's in your Billionaire Grow and Scale group, where people are paying thousands of dollars a month to be in this group, and it's worth it. And the impact that they're having is, each of them are impacting an entire industry. Just like we are here at DoorGrow. And these are, like your podcast says, game changers. And it's just amazing that you can trace this back to a box of somebody's stuff they didn't want anymore. I love that story. So,
I often share with entrepreneurs, the fastest way to get into momentum is to give it away. And
that's how your journey started.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to that guy, that guy probably wouldn't have sold that stuff for $100. Let's be honest. In most garage sales, anything over about $20 doesn't sell. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really notice him looking at me. I certainly wasn't pitching him when I was talking to my mom, but when he handed it to me, there was this realization that here was this person I didn't know, that for some reason had momentarily believed in me enough to give me something that I saw great value in. And I felt this incredible responsibility to live up to that. And I think for every one of us, we should understand that sometimes all an entrepreneur needs, all someone like us needs, is someone to encourage them just a little bit. And if we are willing to get up every day and go out and encourage the entrepreneurs around us, to tell them that they can do it, to be there for them, to be the person that says like, hey, I'm in your corner. It's crazy how we can change people's lives just by letting them know we're there. And, here's a guy that I had a 5-minute interaction with almost 40 years ago. And I still, to this day, remember exactly how it felt. And I feel the ridiculous impact it had in my life. So every one of us has that opportunity every single day. And with social media, it's made it even easier. You can sign online to Facebook. And if you don't want to lose your energy on that platform like most people do, go and set a time limit for 5 minutes and go encourage as many people as you can in 5 minutes. My record's 22. I went down my newsfeed and 22 times I gave people encouragement in 5 minutes. If you do that for 5 minutes, you will get off and like you will feel the return of the momentum you've given away almost immediately. And I know that guy gave me that box, got it back.
Love it. Yeah. I mean, gosh, I'm sure he saw you beaming, saw you carrying away the box, and he was like, I did something good today. He felt good about himself. It reminds me of the story of Les Mis where, like, the priest, the silver, I remember I was sitting in Austin. I'd come down to attend the first event with you. And I was so intimidated because here I am with this tiny business. I wasn't really qualified to be part of the group that you had let me in. And because they have to be $1 million, businesses. And everybody there had multi-million-dollar companies that were sitting around the table. And I felt like the low guy on the totem pole there. And everyone went around and shared about their business and stuff. And I remember at some point you were listening to me talk, and I was sharing ideas with the group, and they were all like, thought it had value, the stuff that I was sharing, which blew me away. Because I felt broken. I felt broken as a business owner. I had struggled for a decade trying to figure stuff out, trying to make things work, just hustled my ass off, worked really hard, learned and studied everything because I'm not naturally good at sales. I'm not naturally good at talking to people. I'm not naturally good with human beings. I had to figure all of this stuff out. Like you, I had to read books on things to figure out how to have relationships with human beings. And I was like, it all felt so foreign to me. The advantage of that is I came into everything with my eyes wide open. I didn't take any of that stuff for granted. Some of my brothers are like, in my family, they're naturally charismatic. They were like prom king. Like they didn't have to learn this stuff. I had to figure out how to make that stuff work. And so, but I remember sitting there at the table with everybody else there as you were presenting stuff, and you like were listening to me, and you pointed at me and you're like, Jason, you have a $20 million company, you don't even know it. And I got so emotional, just you having that level of belief in me, and somebody with your clout, your background, the things that you've been able to create and build, say something like that. That belief alone was a game changer for me. It changed my whole perception of how I saw myself, how I saw my business, seeing that you saw value in me. In Christian churches, they often have this phrase where they talk about speaking life into others. And if anybody has spoken life into me and my business, it's been you. All our interactions through Voxer and the different times we communicate, you're always like building me up. And that was strangely not common among coaches that I had worked with.
Oh, dude. So first, Jason, I just want to confirm what you said. I often share with people, the thing that has come naturally to me in life is failure. Everything that I've succeeded at has been an uphill battle and something I worked at. And I think that's important to share because so many people look at me and they say, well, you were a natural entrepreneur. No, I was a natural roadkill. Let's be honest. Like I shouldn't have made it. I literally couldn't do anything as a kid without getting in trouble. I got in trouble at school. I got in trouble at home. I couldn't focus. I didn't understand what pay attention meant. Like most of the social construct around me totally confused the crap out of me. And so I think a lot of us are that way, Jason. In fact, I think that there's certain people that are just kind of born without an operating system, and we have to come into this world and figure this shit out. And it's so freaking confusing, especially when you're younger. And then over time, we start to knock some of the things down. We start to figure things out. We start to understand more. And, I think people like us, the entrepreneurial personality type, the evolutionary hunter, we are asynchronous learners and asynchronous developers. We develop different than the rest of the world. We learn different than the rest of the world. So it might take you longer. Einstein failed algebra twice, went on to be one of the greatest mathematicians in history that wrote the equation that most people believe is the foundation for the universe. Failed algebra twice, because he didn't quite hook into math until he was later on in life. So for anyone who's listening, who has the kid who's not doing well in school, who's confused at what they're doing in their job, who doesn't really see potential right now for where they're going, I want you to understand something. If you're here listening to us, You are meant for more. You're ready for more. You can create more. You can be more. You can do more. Just like every person in history who started out like us, struggling with restless, drive to contribute, to change, to make things happen. You can do that. And yeah, Jason, today in the world, the coaching that's out there for the most part is very disappointing to me. I've been a professional consultant for over 20 years, and I look at how most people are treated in coaching programs and how most coaching programs are set up, and it makes me physically uncomfortable.
Yeah, I agree. I've experienced it. I've shelled out tens and tens of thousands of dollars for things that, I mean, to be fair, I got value from all of them, but some of them were like you've talked about in the past, abusive coaching relationships, where they put all the results on yourself. So let's shift. I want you to tell my audience, what is an EPT?
So I think that there's completely different types of people in the world. And the easiest way for us to do this, Jason, is to allow you and everyone else who's listening to self-qualify to see if they're an EPT. So first out, let's do the qualification, then I'll explain it as deep as you want.
And what does EPT stand for?
Entrepreneurial Personality Type. Okay. And yes, you just realized that my life's work shares initials with early pregnancy test, but I couldn't figure out how to fix that. So it just is what it is. But an entrepreneurial personality type. And then let's just go through. So I see 4 different types of people in the world. I've studied personalities extensively. I've studied human beings extensively because they confuse me. I don't understand most human behavior, but when you put things in the right context, I can. So when I'm in business, when I'm evaluating things in a business context, it's much easier for me to understand what's going on. And when I look at the world, now that I've been consulting for as long as I have, read as much as I have, I see 4 distinct types of people. And this is totally open to debate. I'll take anybody on, because to me, this is as real as the fact we're talking here. The first type of person is the caretaker. There is a huge, maybe the largest population in the world is caretakers, people who want to take care of other people. And here's what that means. That means their evolutionary programming, their hardwiring is that of taking care of other people and feeling the momentum of that. Because here's what happens to those people. If, well, here's the qualification question for a caretaker. The qualification question is, do you enjoy changing bedpans, Jason?
No, I don't.
No. And there's a little bit of a chuckle there, because what happens is when we hear something like, do you enjoy changing bedpans, as an entrepreneurial personality type, we think, are you crazy? But here's a fact, because I'm curious about human beings. I've watched somebody change a bedpan and I've asked, hey, did you enjoy changing that bedpan? And I've had someone turn to me and in full congruency, completely present, grounded, and look at me and say, Alex, if that person needed a bedpan to be changed and I was here to be of service, I feel fulfilled. Yes, I like changing bedpans. I'm always like, what? I feel like I needed to write a bigger check. But we need caretakers in the world. We needed them evolutionarily to get to where we are now, and we still need them today. So, Jason, you're not a caretaker.
So caretakers, would that include maybe police, firemen, people that feel like a need to serve in that capacity as well? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you talk to those people, they will express that need to serve. They will express that need to take care of other people, to make sure the people around them are okay. And when you see like extraordinary teachers, extraordinary doctors, extraordinary nurses, like this is who they are. They are those extraordinary caretakers out there. Now, the next set of people, since we've disqualified you as a caretaker, the next set of people is the communicators. Now, communicators love the act of communicating. And if we look at our evolutionary human tribe, let's be honest about human beings for a second. As an animal, like as an organism, human beings suck. I mean, we are so weak. If you put a baby human with a baby just about anything else, the human's going to die. And like you can include insects and all kinds of other stuff in that, the human is going to die. And so how did we, right, Jason? Like, how did we survive? We had these different personalities. We worked together. So the second type of personality, the second character, or second type of person is the communicator. They love the act of communicating, carrying on oral tradition. We needed these people evolutionarily to say, like, don't eat this, it'll kill you. There's a woolly mammoth over there. Go the other way. We wanted people to talk. Now, communicators love the act of communicating. So here is the disqualification question. Jason, do you enjoy small talk?
Oh, gosh. I hate small talk. I'd rather be on stage than speaking to an audience than mingling with that audience.
I'm the exact same way, man. You put me in front of 6,000 people and I have never been more comfortable. The second I'm done talking and I walk off stage and 200 crowd around me, I am in a panic attack, sweating, awkward, can't barely talk. My team knows this. If you ever watch me at an event, you will see I'll have 3 or 4 of my team members around me defending me against the crowd, because if people get too up close, too personal, I literally have panic attacks. I have discomfort throughout my entire body because I'm not a communicator. And small talk, when small talk starts, I have 2 thoughts. 1, how do I escape? And 2, should I just fake a heart attack? Because it's that uncomfortable for me. And so you might not be that extreme, but if you don't enjoy small talk, then you're not a communicator. So let's go to the third. Okay. The third group of people in the world, I call them the coordinators. So you have the caretakers, the communicators, the coordinators. The coordinators are those people that love to organize. They love to memorize. They love contracts, not because there's a deal, but because there's a contract. They love to keep things in place. They love rules and red tape and all of those things. And coordinators, there's a simple disqualification question for this one. Jason, do you enjoy being on committees?
No.
Your face looks so frustrated.
Death by committee.
If you're like me, Jason, the word committee literally makes me physically uncomfortable. When somebody said, I actually recently was asked, hey, will you join this board for a charity? And I had to explain, like, no, because I'll offend you and every other board member, because I can't stand group decision making. By the end of the first meeting, you guys are going to all be talking about how rude I am, how blunt I am, and how you want me to get off the committee, because I just don't survive on those. And so you're not a coordinator, Jason. So let's go back through this.
No.
No. And guys,
I just hired a coordinator, and I love having a coordinator around me, but I don't want to be that person.
You are. And here's the reality too. Before I reveal the 4th personality type that Jason's in and probably all of you are in, well, we'll let Jason decide. I just want to make something very clear. If you've ever felt like you've been discriminated against or pushed down or felt less than just because of who you are, I want to confirm your suspicion that you absolutely have. Because the challenge with all 3 of those personality types is they are fundamentally different than we are. And I'll explain in just a moment why you felt so much animosity and struggle in the world just for being who you are. Because the 4th personality type, if we have the caretakers, the communicators, the coordinators, Jason, who's missing in our evolutionary tribe?
The entrepreneurs.
Yeah, the evolutionary hunters. See,
everybody else is part of the status quo.
Yep.
Entrepreneurs, we change things. We make everyone else uncomfortable.
Yep. See, we are the 4th type of human being, not the caretaker, not the communicator, and not the coordinator, but the evolutionary hunter. That small percentage of the population that gets up every day and goes out into the future, creates a new reality, returns to the present, and then insists it becomes real and exposes themselves to the vulnerability and the pain of changing the status quo, because that is who we are. And the qualification question for evolutionary hunter is simple. Can you turn it off?
No.
No, because we are the small percentage of the population that has been hardwired, evolutionarily programmed, divine intervention, whatever it is to you. But we are hardwired to get up every day, create momentum, move forward, make things happen, and change the world around us for the better. We are that small percentage of the population who is responsible for positive human evolution, and we always will be. So if you went through the 4 characteristics and you are an evolutionary hunter, I want to welcome you to who you are, because every single one of us has felt judged and looked down on and made to feel less than, because we live in the future, and coordinators, caretakers, communicators, they live in the present. They strive for average and they cling to the status quo. So they look at us as a threat. And the fact is, single person watching and listening, I know you felt different and alone and frustrated and confused and like a party of one, isolated to the point where you can't get help. But I have news for you. History proves that everyone you remember, everyone who matters to be remembered, is just like us. And if you look back through whatever timeline of history you remember, and you raise up those names of the people that were important to you, you know who I'm talking about. I know who they were for me. Einstein and Plato and Socrates and Pythagoras and Edison and Lincoln and the incredible human beings throughout history who stood in the way and said, we are going to change things. And for every one of you listening who's ever felt different and alone, I want you to understand something. That is your tribe. You are part of the most important group in human history. This is who you are. This is your birthright. And this is your responsibility to go out and be who you are and make the change in the world you've always known you could.
Yeah, these are the people that you're naming, the people that were killed in history.
No doubt.
The society couldn't handle them. They wanted to take them out.
Oh, Jason,
we live in a day and age in which it's a bit safer for us to be who we are. Thank goodness.
A bit.
But we're still heretics.
No doubt.
And this is funny because before I recognized I was an entrepreneur, I was a kid that was in college going door to door, pre-selling CDs without anything except playing my guitar with a clipboard so that I could fund an album that I wanted to create. But I didn't know that I was an entrepreneur. I didn't see that. I was like, I need to get a job someday, right? And one of my favorite quotes has always been, all great truths begin as blasphemies. Because I recognized that I always wanted to destroy things that I saw that felt broken to me. I always wanted to tear those things down. I always wanted to point out a better way. And I recognized that I got so much resistance all the time. People were like, what's wrong with you? Why are you so like, I felt like I was this destroyer of all things good and holy to these people. But I was like, this is better, guys. All great truths begin as blasphemy is from George Bernard Shaw. And I don't even know who the guy is, but I was like, I love that quote. And I've always carried that around, you know?
Similar to, you know, I always tell people every great visionary was crazy until they sold something. And so if people tell you you're crazy, if people tell you you're wrong, if people tell you you can't do it, I just want you to think to yourself, hell yes, I'm doing it right. Because if the world around you is fully supporting you, if the world around you is telling you you're right, if the world around you is telling you everything's going to be okay, you're probably not doing anything very important.
I love that. It's true. Yeah, it's true. Because they're comfortable with it.
Yep.
We make the world uncomfortable as entrepreneurs.
It's who we are and it's what we're supposed to do. And once we understand that, everything in the world shifts. You know, Jason, you just described growing your business 300% in a year to the lofty rate of over $1 million. Only 3% of entrepreneurs ever get there. But part of the reason that you didn't see the path to do that is simply the beliefs in yourself that had been handed to you by hundreds of people throughout your lifetime, that you weren't enough, that you couldn't do it, that you had some type of issue, some type of challenge. And you know what we did? We took 12 months and we peeled those back. And what we allowed was for the true evolutionary hunter to come through. And that's why DoorGrow is exploding. That's why hundreds of agents across the country look to you to help them build their business, take care of their families, take care of their clients, because you get up every day and you have a tribe that you will do anything you can to support. So anybody watching, that's who we are. When you hook into that energy of supporting the tribe that matters to you, everything you want in life will come screaming at you. Jason, you're living proof.
And I think the two words that I think are the most impactful that you tend to connect to things is one, contribution. Entrepreneurs are so focused on contributing. We want to contribute. We want to have an impact. We want to make a difference. We look up to people, you know, like Gandhi and Mother Teresa and people that like go out and change the world. We look up to those kind of people. We're not looking up to like just athletes or, big personalities. We want to make the world a better and different place. And the other is momentum. And gosh, that rings so true when I heard from you explain that the rest of the world looks at whether or not they're happy or sad. They're thinking in terms of, am I happy or sad? We're just looking at, am I moving forward? Am I in momentum, or do I feel stuck? Am I damned? Do I feel constrained? And that's hell for us as entrepreneurs. That's frustration.
Here's this is how I describe it, Jason, is that the entrepreneurial personality type, the evolutionary hunter, is a physiologically sensitive, momentum-based being that is highly reactive to constraint. What does that mean? That means we feel our momentum. When I say the word momentum, I want you to have the recognition that you don't just hear that, you feel that. It has a reaction in your body. Why? Because you were born to be in forward motion. You were born to be creating, making things happen, making new things come to fruition in the world. And when we understand that momentum is what it's all about, we can cast off the judgment and the systems of the world that don't work for us. Because let's be honest, most of the structures and frameworks and systems in the world not only don't work for the evolutionary hunter, they break us. Once we realize that what we're looking for is momentum and forward progress, and that's all we need, everything in the world gets easier.
The rest of the world's always talking about, we just need to get in the flow. We want flow. Flow does not sound nearly as aggressive enough for me.
Nope.
I want momentum.
Me too.
So Alex, I want to be mindful of your time. I really appreciate you coming on my show. Like we said, it's been a long time coming. I'm grateful for you as a coach. You're going to be speaking to our group and our audience, sharing some game-changing tactics and ideas at DoorGrow Live in November. So make sure you guys get your tickets to DoorGrow Live. And Alex, anything else that you want to say to those, or anything you want to plug or share with my audience before we go?
Jason, I just want to share, I'm so thrilled to be speaking at your event. This last year of working with you and watching you develop and watching you build a team and watching you overcome the limiting beliefs that have been handed to you by people who didn't understand who you are has been amazing. And I am so honored to be speaking at this event because it was a dream of yours when we started working together, and to see it actually come true, I'm so excited about it. I think it's like 2 days after my 46th birthday, so my kids are totally irritated with me that I'm flying out, but I'm going to probably bring one of them with me, and I just can't wait to be there. And if you want to get more information from us, the best place to go is to the Momentum Podcast. You can check out, we have a couple hundred episodes up. We get about 5,000 downloads a day. We've had the podcast out since July. This week, we're going to hit 500,000 downloads, which is just explosive. And you can go to momentumpodcast.com to check it out. And if you've listened to Jason and I today, and you felt a connection, or we've said something that has made you say, hey, wait, no one's ever said that way before, and you want to understand more about who you are and stop limiting behavior and create unlimited momentum, download my book. Go to freemomentumbook.com. Read The Entrepreneurial Personality Type, a guide to the most important and misunderstood population among us.
Alex, thank you. Love you, brother. Appreciate you coming on, and looking forward to the future with you.
You got it, Jay. And let's do this again, man. This was a lot of fun.
Okay, great. I think so too. All right. Thank you, Alex. All right. So I'm so excited that I got to expose everybody to Alex Charfen, my mentor, who I look up to. If you are a property management entrepreneur and you want to be around entrepreneurs, you want to be around people that are connected to your industry, they understand what you're going through, they know what you deal with on your team, and you want to be the entrepreneur and not the property manager, right? You hire the property manager. You want to be the entrepreneur. Then get inside our Facebook group. You can check that out at doorgrowclub.com. Get inside our Facebook group. We only allow the entrepreneurs, the business owners, the principals of the organization in. And so the decision makers, we only allow you in. So you do have to answer questions. You have to apply. We turn down at least half of all the people that apply to be in the group because they're not the right fit. Because we know that entrepreneurs, they are positive people, whereas people just doing property management, not the same thing. They don't have that resiliency. They don't have that that natural motivation to take risks and do more and be more, and that desire to contribute in that way. We want to gather the entrepreneurs, and the best way to do that, to do it physically, will be our DoorGrow Live event in November. So you can check that out at doorgrowlive.com. All right, thanks everybody, and we will talk to you next time.